In this video, I share an overview of the magnetic writing flywheel. If you're an entrepreneur who wants a simple system where the more you write, the more you earn, and you want a process that positions you as the go-to authority in your niche, and you love sharing your ideas, then you'll love this three-step process. I've used it to make over $1.4 million in the past 5 years, and that's without being an expert marketer and without having a big team. In fact, this works with just one VA. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's dive in.
So it's a heat wave in England at the moment, so if my top magically comes off at the end, excuse me, but we're going to run through basically the whole flywheel, starting with the bare basics and getting more and more integrated as we go. So first touch point, obviously social media, right? So the most important part here is that we're presenting ourselves as unique, useful, undeniable. So how we help, what makes us different, and where's our proof? Every social media page that we have links to, we're running a promotion at the moment, but this would usually link to our lead magnet. And it's important that you don't put like free guide or whatever. Like you want to really begin calling out this journey, i.e. like attract clients, which for me would be the copywriting guide that we usually have there. We also make use of the featured stuff here. We've got our products and lead magnets. Need to delete that one. And then, for example, we have the same on X. So I was just checking out Jay before. Same thing. So here's my structure framework link, which we're going to have a look about in a moment. And we're posting on Instagram as well. And you can tell who I model. And I think Threads also. Important to note that I haven't actually been on Threads in months, so I don't know what's going on here. 1.7k, cool. And so that's what I was about to say. It's important to note I don't look at any of this, and that's why I've been on LinkedIn timeline for about 10 minutes. I only write on Notion, okay? So everything kind of starts in Notion. We train our VA to post it in the different formats on the different platforms. I engage. I don't get my VA to engage with other people, but she will reply to comments for me when I'm too busy to do it myself. So we're kind of both covering it there. All my writing happens in here, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Now, let's go back to LinkedIn. So that's your bio and pin post, right? The next step is call to action. So we have built a lead magnet, which you and I have discussed, like an authority asset. The authority asset solves an early problem for your client or gives an overview of how you solve the bigger problem, right? The transformation promise. Then when we post, depending on the platform, but generally we'll post the link to that thing with a call to action at the bottom. This is a launch I'm running at the moment, so maybe not the best example. Let me just find one for you. Cool. Lovely. If you're an entrepreneur trying to grow your business, you need to get good, simple copywriting. And then we plug the structure framework, which is one of my assets. Now, I have about 5 or 6 now of these assets that we rotate through. And we have about 10, 15 call to actions as well that we have just been cycling through also. So you can just begin layering those over time. For now, you just want one asset, and you can test your CTAs to see the clicks. We do that on Hyperion X, but if you haven't got that, don't worry. We can just play around with it. The key is to call out your one true fan, right? If X, then Y. If you're struggling with this, then that. If you want this, then that. And that's going to really help just to get the right people clicking on that link. CTAs are going under every post, right? And so we're originally what you were doing or what we were doing together is it's post, reach out for conversation. That's the first flywheel. So it goes content to client, and then you just keep doing that, or content to conversation. But I'm going to show you the overarching one, which is building up the list. And so where do they go? They come to our landing page. Dead simple landing page, right? It always wants to be above the fold. It's rule number 1. If I have to scroll to put this in, it's going to get a poorer response. Now, when you're doing the headline, it's unique, useful, undeniable, okay? So is it unique? Absolutely. Sucks framework. Is it useful? Absolutely. Building a writing business and 240k, 500k a year. So I get to flex that. And that makes it undeniable too. Now we've got the evidence of proof here. Always collecting first names for personalization, collecting emails. And then this is an active button, like get this, start this, etc., etc. Now, the key here is to focus on the lower levels of awareness. So what do I mean by this? We have the 5 levels of awareness, right? So you have unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware. And a lot of people, they start like in the product solution aware. Like if I just had it here saying, download the SOX framework, that presumes that I know what the hell that is. But because we open up with how I built a 240k audience and 500k a year, that's not even calling out a problem, right? That's just a general desire that I'm tapping into. The reason that's important is because we're keeping the scope broad to get people onto the list, but not so broad that we're getting anyone onto the list. And so what I mean by that is we want to make sure that people know when they are signing up, it's about the transformation promise that you provide, right? Building a writing business, 240k, 500k a year. I think the only thing I might put back in somewhere is like maybe on the picture just saying my dead simple 8-step copywriting framework, so they know that it's copywriting related. Now, I do this for all my assets, right? The only reading list you'll ever need to grow your writing business, so not even calling out the problem. But if I wanted to call out a problem, I might say something like, for this, are you struggling to turn content into clients? Are you struggling to grow your audience? Are you struggling to write persuasively for your business? And the reason that's important because there are a lot of people struggling with that problem as opposed to people that are aware of, copywriting frameworks, for example. So thank you page comes next, which I could probably show you here instead. Yeah. Again, what I'm trying to do here for you is you're thinking about every single interaction that your customer has with you, and that's where we can begin to optimize little things, right? So this is card, as you know. We set this up, we link this up via Kit, okay, with an API key and a form ID, which I'll show you in a moment. When they sign up, you have 2 opportunities here. Number 1 is if you have a low ticket product, let's say you've got like a cool swipe file, you can do like a massive discount that they only get on this page. It's really good if we're running paid ads because you can begin to get like an immediate ROI on stuff. I don't have that and I don't do that. What I have is a link to my authority asset, which I can find the link, is an essay that I've written, okay? And so it goes to an essay that I've written, okay? This took a while to write. I don't expect you to write that straight away. And actually, if I was to do it again, I would build the essay bit by bit, and then you can really just stick it together. Like make an email course, for example. But I can actually show you the views on this. I'll show you the views on this. By having this link in there, a percentage of people that sign up to my list are immediately getting access to my best ideas or like a pretty cool, useful asset. So what I'm doing is I'm autopiloting relationships. Was it worth it? Well, it's had 14k visitors with an average read time. Well, actually, you can get the average read time of this one with an average read time of 5 minutes. Right? So that's a hell of, I'm not going to do any maths in public, but that's a lot of time that people have spent with me. And have a look. 5k of them came from Kieran Drew, the SOX link. So super powerful ways to just bit of leverage. Now, we always want to do the fastest rep here. So if you don't want to spend 50 to 100 hours on an essay, please don't. You've got better stuff to do. Podcast, favorite podcast episode, something like this, right? Just or your even if you've got your favorite social media post, something to continue the relationship. So that's our thank you page. Fathom Analytics. So the reason this is important is because we want to know where our traffic is coming from. And so Fathom Analytics is very, very good for this. All you need to do is you click here, you put in an embed underneath here. It's hidden in the header, and then you copy the code that you create on Fathom. So they'll kind of walk you through that. That means that we can begin tracking this. Okay, so we've got the SOX framework, which we're on now. We know that it has 18k viewers in that time, so I can then go on to ConvertKit and see how many people have signed up, and then we know the conversion rate of that page, right? Which is kind of useful. We actually are running split tests. I'm not going to show you that today because we're doing that with a different software, but that can kind of help just to see, like, for you, for example, you want to know, do people actually want this asset, right? And if you're getting, let's say, 100 visitors come on and only 1 person downloads it, then the copy sucks, right? And we can reframe it. But if you're like, not many people are getting it, and then we look and it's like, well, 5 people visited and 3 downloaded, like, you're on to a winner there. You just need to get more volume, which is often the case. The cool bit about this then is let me just keep track of where we are, the UTM tracker. So the UTM tracker is part of Fathom Analytics. By the way, it's dirt cheap for what it is. It's very, very good. And all you have to do, mate, is you put the link in, you put the source. So for example, I know for you, we want to see if it's coming from LinkedIn or from your podcast. And so you'll put source pod, okay? The medium would be, where your marketing channel is. So again, if it's a podcast, you can put that there. I had X and social, and then because then you can have the social breakdown, right? So you could just say like top of funnel, whatever. And then if you're running a campaign, you can also have that. So when we're running a campaign, I could say, okay, this was just during that promotion. This then creates a UTM link that means you don't need a new website page for each one, right? I can create 15 links here. And for example, when I ask people to affiliate for me or do newsletter swaps, I will have the source as their name. So, Billy, Dave, whatever. And then that way I can see who's actually sending me the most traffic. So I can go up to them and be like, let's talk some more. That this is good. And you can get rid of the crap ones. So that's pretty cool, right? You can just keep generating these links. Just save the links that you create so you don't lose them. We just save ours in Notion. We just have a long list of links. And then we can begin to start gathering data of like where your traffic is coming from, what's effective, what's been working. So let's say you're working on the podcast CTA and you do 5 episodes of one CTA and 5 episodes with the other. You could put pod CTA 1, pod CTA 2, and you can see which one might have done a little bit better. As an example, we don't want to get too into the weeds of that, just we want to generally know where people are coming from. Next, right? So they've signed up, and this is the Sucks framework landing page on ConvertKit, all right? And so this is just a little setup thing. I don't even think you need those. You might, maybe you do. I can't remember. We set this up a long time ago, but I used to just have those two. The bit I wanted to show you anyway is this is how you link up the landing page with that. It's the API key. It's just in the settings. No. Yeah, so it's just in settings, in embed, and you take this number here, is the code that you put into card, and then your API key is ConvertKit, which is in your general settings up here. And so that will mean that we can then start transferring that across. Again, ConvertKit have guides on that, super simple, so do card. The thing I wanted to show you was the settings that we have here. So we want people to confirm their subscription, but we also want to remove the friction of this, right? So you don't want them to have to confirm this subscription, and then you get an email with your authority asset, and then you get a welcome email. So what we do is we go into general, you can have just show a success message, or if you have your own external page, which is just, for us, it's the same, it's just a meme grinning away with the link to the essay. You can put that in as well. Domain name, not to worry. So the incentive email, this we sent once to new subscribers, right? So they're new to the list, we want them to click. And what we do is, firstly, you want to make sure that the email, we're always off to a good start, right? And so I'm obviously kind of cheeky, I've got a bit of fun going on. Thanks for joining the list. I get far too many robots trying to sign up, so I need you to click the button to let me know you're real. You'll be redirected to the guide. So most people just have, hey, thanks for signing up, click here to confirm your subscription, and then you click it and nothing happens. P.S. If this is your first time reading my emails, you have another email coming. Always tell people what's coming, all right? Just to kind of control the conversation. If they're like, oh my God, I just wanted to get this guide and now he's emailing me again and I didn't warn them, it's not good. So then what we do is, after confirming, we can auto redirect to give them the download of the asset. So they click that button and now they're immediately taking my guide, which I don't know if it'll actually work if I click on it. Yeah. So that means they've got that now. In terms of advanced, if they have already filled it out, then you can put that there so they can't actually get it. And the rest doesn't really matter. So what happens next? We tag them. So when they join, let me come out of here. When they join, they're going to get tagged. So this is where we start getting into automations. Downloaded the Sux Framework lead magnet, right? And then the next one, this is called a conditional, right? So because we don't want new subscribers to be constantly, let's say you're only gonna have one asset, so you don't have to worry so much. But if you have 5 authority assets, things to download, you don't want someone to constantly get re-engaged into your welcome sequence or accidentally sent elsewhere. And so what we do is we tag that, and then we say the condition, if the subscriber has new subscribe story sequence, which is the welcome sequence, yes, goodbye, adios, enjoy your guide. If no, we're going to wait 10 minutes, chill out, enjoy yourself, and then going to get tagged with the new subscriber story sequence. Right? And so that's a nice entry point where it's like anyone who joins who's new, they're going to get tagged with a new subscriber, which means we can enter them into the welcome sequence, which will be our next thing. So that's this. And actually, just to show you, again, you don't need to worry so much about this because you're going to have a very linear thing, but I would do that setup. When you start to have more and more assets, look, I'm going to talk about all this, by the way, but this is layer and leverage, right? Every single interaction has automations. So we're getting data coming in from everywhere. We're getting a lot of interaction stuff going on. For example, if someone requests a refund, then everyone gets I had it up there a second ago. If everyone requests a refund, then they send out a refund question. I just wanted to show you one thing. Okay. So we have other assets, right? They've come from our website. They've come from the Creator Network. They've come from Sparkloop. 15K subscribers from the Creator Network. They all get that same thing. Welcome. You get tagged with this. When you get tagged with this, first thing we do is tag, do not send with newsletter. So this is how we begin to control the conversation in your world, right? You don't want people to join your list if you've got a welcome sequence, and then them also getting your weekly newsletter. We want to picture this as 2 separate things, left and right. Okay, you have the automated world and the live world, right? And we let people do the automated world first, which is this. Okay, so this is an add to action, add to another automation, welcome sequence. Okay, that then sends people to welcome sequence here. Ignore all of these, so no longer active. This is all just unactive stuff. It's just that one that you've just seen. They get tagged in welcome sequence and they get the welcome emails, right? So this is the sequence that you've been building over time. We're going to talk about that in a moment. First email, which you've just discussed, super active, energetic, tell people what's coming, set yourself apart from the competition, mention proof, okay, and get a reply. Most important part. We also send them over to our social media. The reason we do this is that when people do come to say hi there, we're controlling the conversation in multiple places. This increases it's like a dating tip where, not obviously for me because I'm shit at dating, but you would, you meet at the bar, you go to a table, you go to the smoking area, this act of moving around actually increases familiarity. Tell them to unsubscribe if they're not happy, but most importantly, tell them that there are emails coming. Now, one thing I have here, which I do recommend at one point, not urgent because you're not having a lot of traffic coming in, is that incentivize the reply. If you reply, I will give you a free guide. I will send you a free 10-minute video, whatever. You can even record your authority asset and go through that again with them. And that's a cool way just to get replies, but also, so mine's a 35-minute welcome email course, a bit meta, but that means that, and it's very old, it needs to be redone. But that means that people, actually, it's a good idea. I've got a new version. Ask my VA to do that. A lot of people is watching 40 minutes of Kieran Drew when they join my list, right? Reputation is not an accident. Then we have the welcome emails that are coming along. Now, I'm not going to dive into how to actually write these emails, but as we know, we're doing a magnetic email structure. It's always the same format. We set the scene, Setting the scene is about starting with a story, specific moment in time, and establishing a shared perspective. What's the desire? What's the problem? We then prove our point. The point is the big idea of the email, the polarizing thing, the unique thing. So for example, if I tell a story about the first time I went viral was with a story, then proving my point is that like there's a difference between making an impression and number of impressions. And the whole point of building your business is making an impression. I've stated the point, but you always want to prove it. And so when I say, okay, let me prove that for you, I might share how every single one of my emails is story driven. And because of that, I managed to make 1.4 mil. If I don't want to talk about me, then I can talk about my clients, right? Which is obviously the more powerful form of proof. But we always try to prove our point, and then we ask for action. Now, the action in the welcome sequence, you do want to build awareness for your offer as soon as possible, but you start softer, right? You don't want to be like immediately like, yo, bye, bye, bye. For me, for example, it's not in the first email, it's now the next day email. The next day email is one of your personal stories, right? For sure. We want people to get to know you. So mine is my first dollar online. That's been really effective. It's got my results, which I need to update because keep making money. My emails this week will share my favorite ideas. You want to skip ahead, you might check out high impact writing. Now I have a product to sell. You have a client to attract. And so we just want to mention your program and explain that you're going to be sending more advice about it. Then ask them to reply. Like, what are you up to online? Okay. Otherwise, I'd love to hear from you. What are you up to online? These begin flywheels, okay? Because what I'm going to explain to you later is like every single reply is data that we can then turn into content that attracts more people in. So sequence goes on. I do daily for the first 2 weeks. And the only thing we want to note here is in your settings, put the time of the emails kind of when you would normally send your normal newsletter. So mine's usually around 2-3 p.m. on every day. And then only let them receive it once and then exit code again. And they should exit after the last published email for these ones. Sometimes you want them to stay in there. For example, if someone buys your product, keep them in that thing so you can slowly add more emails over time. But generally, we want for this one, we want them to bugger off when they're done. Then what happens for me is, where were we? Here. So if we come back to this one, that's all you need to do, right? You have a welcome sequence. When they finish the welcome sequence, we remove the tag, saying they're not in the welcome sequence anymore. And you can tag them with welcome sequence completed. And you can just have a simple one here that removes do not send the newsletter, right? Which means that they've finished your automated world and they come into your newsletter world. Now I have it a little bit more complicated because I have it's like a split sequence, right? So we send them over to that automation. When it gets tagged with welcome sequence completed, they come back to this automation and they get sent to a different automation, which is welcome sequence pitch. Again, I don't want you to worry so much about this one yet, but just so you can see the potential and so you can kind of understand what's going on, which is Geordie. Because I sell products in the front end, they then come to this one. So there's that sequence again, sends them here, and they get, this is the second half of my welcome sequence, the story sequence, okay? I don't know why it says unpublished changes, but we'll work it out. Me flexing my body. And what's happening here is that I'm actually pitching high impact writing. But in the first half of the welcome sequence, I mentioned high impact writing softly. I'm like, yo, if you pick up high impact writing, I will give you 3 bonus webinars and I think a couple of other things, right? And what happens is this tag of in welcome sequence, pitch 1, will trigger a deadline funnel, which is one of the apps. I'm not going to go into it. Deadline funnel will mean that when they click on high impact writing, this link, they're going to get a timer, which has a 4-day timer based on when they were here. So if that means for every single person, I have a specific launch running at a specific start and end point where they can get access to my best product with more value, not bigger discounts, right? I used to do discounts. It used to be 50% off. I used to make a lot of sales. The worst thing you can do to start a relationship is, hey, look how cheap I am. We give and see if they buy. That's that sequence, okay? And if they do buy, then they get taken out. So for example, this has had about 43 purchases, which pretty low conversion here, but it used to be a lot higher before we set this one up. It's just the course is a little bit less popular now, which is cool. When they finish the pitch sequence, they get taken out again. We wait 3 days because they just have 14 emails and a pitch. And then this is important. we removed the tag do not send newsletter. So you might just have that in that linear one. Now they are in my newsletter world. So I hope this is useful so far. Well, actually, just before I go into the newsletter world, which is something that we've discussed, how do you write a welcome sequence over time? So we've been doing this, right? We've been focusing on story-driven emails and case studies and proof. Then, when you get your best 4 emails, we put the sequence in there with a welcome email. Now we have 5 days of emails for every single person that signs up. Get that up to 2 weeks, okay? Because what we're going to do there is when someone joins, they get to know all about you, right? They're aware of your product. They see your podcast. So I have my essays in there, my best podcast interviews, all of this stuff. So that someone can go from stranger to follower to fan without you lifting a finger. And some become customers. Or for you, they start the conversation to become a client. So really, really cool there. But you write it over time and you just add stuff in. And then once you've got your first kind of 8 emails, and you can spread them out a tiny bit if you want to, you add in the good ones. And what do I mean by good ones? Well, for me, it's the replies. Okay, so quite often, I have 33,000 emails and readers. I'll send an email and people don't reply, right? Like barely any. And that's depending on what you ask for. Sometimes I'll write an email, like I sent one this week and it was like I was moved to tears, right? In you go. So you're banging emails and they get added in, you can take out the other ones, and then you can basically build out a sequence that builds relationships and reputation and revenue on autopilot. So over time, that's how we begin layering leverage. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. Next up, newsletter world. So newsletter, I like to send emails twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week now. And I track that on here. So, you can sort of see like these are the ones ready to upload. I have a monthly business report, which is kind of like a normal cadence one, but generally they're going to be story-driven emails that, let's say for example, I'm stuck in morning rush hour, James Clear. Your newsletter has one job, or well, many jobs, but you really want to talk about their problems. They are problem aware. People love reading about their problems and seeing solutions, okay? And this is where the reps come in. This is where the selling happens, because we have 2 things in newsletters. We have conversations and campaigns. Conversation is the general stuff. You will not make much money during your general newsletter conversations because you lack a reason why to buy, normally. So then we run campaigns, which we may say every 2 to 3 months. Well, for me, like I run 2 launches a month, okay, now. But I've got so many assets, like little products here and there. And right now we're doing an affiliate asset for Senja. 2 weeks before I ran a webinar one. 2 weeks later, we're doing a launch of a different product because I'm closing down the paid newsletter. They can go buy all the backlog. But generally, it's going to be every couple of months. You might do a promotion, which is more intense, 5 days, and a reason why to buy. So for example, for you, if you've got this like mega high ticket program, we might do a discounted entry and you can build the wait list to that. Or you might do like a discovery call one where it's like, hey, I'm giving away 10 free calls. I don't normally do this, and you can do X, Y, Z. Then we can use that to upsell your high ticket program. So even if people can already book in for that call, when we make something sound exclusive and scarce, instead of it being like a hey, book in for a chat, these are like these 10 free consulting calls just for this month. So maybe that's something that we can play with for you. That's your newsletter. The next thing then, we now have this flywheel, right? So we've got reach, social media. They sign up, they get automated emails, they leave, they enter your newsletter, constantly mentioning your client stuff, you get conversations. The thing that we then start to do to get that flywheel spinning faster is obviously selling. Sales is the job. The more clients you get, the better your business will go, the more authority you have, all that stuff. Layering leverage. So I showed you a bit of that in the newsletter. Anything that I can make, anything I do more than once, I want to make easy to do again. So one example, I have a client call. The immediate actions, okay, is that Vim will send, my assistant, will send the recording to the client after I send a voice note being like, hey, this client XYZ, I told them this, this, and that. Send them these resources because usually we like to add more stuff in. Remind me if I forget that. It must be sent within the day because we care about our reputation. She will then run the call transcript through Insight Miner, content ideas, and then put it into my calendar to review, which I normally do on a Friday afternoon if I'm not going for a bit of a friend today, which I am. It should be fun. For example, so she would have put one in recently. Okay, so 2 calls I had, and I get everything that we need. Outreach, burning them out. Drained by high intensity marketing. Uncertainty about business direction. Content creation taking too long. Systems failing to stick. Once the leverage that works without them. Unexpected passive income. Working systems that actually stick. All this stuff, and then I've got all of these content ideas, and all I have to do is go on, say yes, and then she's going to upload that to my Google Drive, so that when I come to write, I can just be like, what did I talk to about my clients before this week? Okay, so I'm probably not going to talk about the fact that I'm dodging tax. You're welcome. The what's next anxiety that plagues, right? It's funny because I can relate to that. I'm always like, what's next? And it's like, well, this is it. Okay. Anyway, that's the idea of layering leverage. Everything that's happening, we can begin to automate, systemize, get your VA. We'll get a VA to begin letting stuff happen faster and faster. And the cool bit about that flywheel then is that the more energy we put in, that energy, in my opinion, being quality writing, if the writing is shit, none of this happens. But when the writing is good and the systems are there and the leverage is there and the automations are there, choo-choo, right? It starts getting pretty fun. And that leads me to our final point. I've just got a list of stuff here for you. The final point is that we turn all conversations and clients into content. I screwed this up at the start. So I hated selling my time. So I was like, well, I don't want to talk about the work I'm doing with people. I don't want more work. The best way to shortcut authority is to be in the arena, and the best way to show you're in the arena is to make it the forefront of all of your content, right? And so when I'm thinking of email ideas or social media ideas, I generally will ask myself 3 questions. Question number 1, what have I done interesting over the past week? Question number 2, what have I done with people that was interesting over the past week? And that's your client interactions. And then question number 3, I've got it written down somewhere, but it's what notes have I taken during the week, right? And so if I can't think of 2 to 3 emails ideas and 3 social media posts, because we actually turn our emails into social media posts with AI, and I've just retrained it and it's sick. I don't have to do anything now. If I can't think of 6 to 7 ideas to write about there, I've done something wrong, all right? But I want you to lean heavily into what you've done and what you've done with your clients, right? Those are the 2 big boys. Because we want people to get to know you. We want people to know that you are serious. That then goes back up to the top of the flywheel, right? So you can kind of picture it. They've gone all the way down here. You've gathered all this client information interactions so that when you then talk about the top, the appeal begins again. And someone joins your world and it just gets stronger and stronger. They're reading your social media content and that strength of bond as a result. So that when you do pitch your services, your offers, your product, people are like, hell fucking yeah, I want to work with this person. Again, reputation does not happen by magic. So I hope all that was useful. Keep it simple, all right? There's a few things that are a bit more complicated there, but that should be a pretty good TLDR of what you need or what we're going to build to get your business absolutely nailed. Cheers, man.